The most frustrating part of CPE for me has been dealing with staff chaplains. Hi, if you're new around here, my name is Leslie, and I am taking you on the journey, my journey, to becoming a chaplain. I am committed to creating the videos that I wish I could have found on YouTube when I was trying to discern whether or not I should become a chaplain. So welcome. Also, if you've been here before, you're probably like, new hair, who this? I change my wigs all the time. But let's get into today's video. So as I'm reflecting and coming to the end of my first CPE unit, the most challenging part or a growth edge for me was not dealing with the patients. It was dealing with the staff chaplains. And one of the things that you need to understand as someone who's just getting started with your CPE journey is that there are 3 levels of chaplains in a hospital. You have your intern chaplains, which is you and I, and we are at the bottom of the rung. And then you have residency chaplains, so resident chaplains, and they're in the middle. And then you have staff chaplains. Staff chaplains are the full-time employees of that hospital. And so it can be very apparent in my experience. I don't know if it's like this at other places. I'm only speaking for myself. But in the hospital that I work at, it is very clear that you are at the bottom of the totem pole. And what does that look like? I'm so glad you guys asked. You ask amazing questions. It looks like staff chaplains not trusting you. And the hospital that I work at, every chaplain is assigned to a service line. So they have a particular floor that they deal with. So some people deal with cardiac, some deal with oncology, so on, so on, so on. And so essentially, that staff chaplain can decide that they don't want you as an intern to see any of their patients. Now, what really sucks about that is if your educator is not involved in the day-to-day, you could spend an entire 12-hour shift doing nothing but filling out power of attorney paperwork. Because until you can win the trust of the staff chaplain, they kind of really dictate what kind of work you get to do. And that was super frustrating for me, especially like the first 2 months, month and a half, 2 months that I was there. But the cool thing was, as I continued to build relationships and also was able to show that, hey, I'm not a complete idiot. I can actually talk to patients. I've been in ministry a long time. I know how to walk with people. I've owned a business, all of the things that you're probably bringing from your background. Once you could prove that, I had some staff chaplains that opened up and it became a great experience for me. And I got a variety of patients to see, a variety of patient encounters and interventions, and all of the things that you really want, that because that's what you're there for, right? You're paying money. Keep that in mind. For us, we pay $500. You're paying money to be educated. And so if you don't get patient encounters, it's kind of like you just gave money away, and not to mention your time. Remember, this is 400 hours of your time. And that's way more important than the $500 in my case, okay? The way I think about it is my time I can't get back. You can always make money, right? And so the dynamic can be really kind of, it can be territorial and a little combative. And so here's my advice, because my thing is I don't want to complain without giving a suggestion. My suggestion would be is to try and build rapport with them as quickly as possible. What helped me start to make inroads with those staff chaplains is when I started treating staff chaplains the way that I treated patients. Meaning, you don't know what you're going to walk into when you're dealing with them, and you need to get very curious about who they are and what makes them tick, so that you can build rapport with them. Because like I said, they hold the gate to what your experience will be like in a clinical setting. Because if they don't let you see their patients, and you have an educator like the educator I had, who's not involved in the clinical hours, they're only involved in the education hours, it can be a tough road for you to go. So I would, number one, just get you ready for that, because I think that was the biggest shock for me. And I declare that first month and a half, I probably said, if I said it once, I said it 500 times. This is supposed to be spiritual care. Why are these people so mean? It's like I just had a different expectation, because I'm like, we're all supposed to be spiritual people providing spiritual care. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're all human, myself included. We all have our quirks and our things that get on our nerves, and we're human, right? But it definitely was the most difficult part. So here's what I would say to you. Know that going in, and treat them how you would treat a patient. Get curious about it. Because if you don't, they won't trust you, and it will be the longest 5 months of your life. You'll waste money and time, and that just ain't cool, okay? Here's the other thing. When you're picking your shifts, like at ours, we had to do 25 12-hour shifts. When you're picking your shifts, unless you have another job already, do not, hear me well, do not take overnight shifts. Okay? Why? Because again, you're paying with your money and you're paying with your time to get education. Unless you're just trying to check off a box. But if you're following this channel, you want to be a professional chaplain. You need experience. And on overnight shifts, there were some shifts where I saw nobody. Okay? And the most that you might see is 2 or 3 people in an entire 12 hours. So I would just say to you, if you have a choice, avoid overnight shifts if possible. Only because, again, you're there to get experience, and overnight you won't get much of that. Okay? I'll tell a story next about one of my overnight shifts. Y'all want to hear it? Drop it in the comments, because my very first overnight shift was one for the record books. I almost got beat up by a patient. Like, I'll tell you guys about it. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear about it. Well, but hopefully this video was helpful to you. Hopefully it'll help you get your mind right and come up with a strategy and a plan for what you will encounter possibly in your CPE. All right, my loves, until next time, grace and peace.